gonna label him like this unicorn thing. Everybody's been a unicorn over the last few years, but he's more like an alien.
Yeah, he's like the 2K creative player. Like every point guard that wants to be 7 foot, cheat code type vibes.
This is the greatest pre-college prospect in the history of the NBA.
What did Victor Wembanyama do to make NBA legends say this about him? You see, since people started hearing about Wemby, it seemed like he was the one that was gonna change basketball forever. But not everyone was sold on him until a night in October of 2022. Over the course of 2 nights, Victor Wembanyama forced some of the smartest basketball minds in the world to fear him. But what exactly made that game so powerful? You see, NBA scouting is built on comparison. Every prospect who enters the draft arrives with a reference point attached to his name. The next Michael Jordan, the next LeBron, or Kevin Durant. Scouts spend their entire careers trying to reduce uncertainty by finding familiar patterns. The comparison isn't just a shortcut for fans, it's a tool that helps organizations predict what a player might become. Victor Wembanyama created a problem because nobody could agree on what he was. He was listed at around 7'4" with a wingspan approaching 8 feet, measurements that should have placed him in the category of traditional centers. But the moment you watched him play, that comparison fell apart. Traditional centers weren't bringing the ball up the floor. Traditional centers weren't creating step-back jumpers off the dribble. So no one knew what to compare him to, thus making the anticipation around Las Vegas so significant. The game between the France team and the Ignite team was organized so weaknesses could be found, so he could be comparable. But when the games finally started in Las Vegas, it didn't take long for everyone watching to realize they were witnessing something abnormal. On the night of the first game, Victor Wembanyama was the most talked about prospect in basketball. But there was also Scoot Henderson, a player talented enough to be the first overall pick in most draft classes. The matchup had been marketed as a battle between the top 2 prospects in the world, and for some people watching, it was supposed to provide clarity about who deserved to sit at the top of the draft board. But once the game started, the difference was undeniable. Every time defenders tried to treat him like a center, he responded with the skills of a perimeter player. Every time they closed out expecting a jump shot, he attacked off the dribble. His size created one problem, his skill created another. Together, they formed a puzzle that nobody could solve. On the other hand, Scoot Henderson was playing great, but unfortunately for him, he was competing against something the NBA had never seen before, and he couldn't survive it. You see, one of the reasons these games became so influential is because Henderson played well enough to remind everyone why he was considered an elite prospect. Yet, every great Scoot moment seemed to be accompanied by another reminder that Wembanyama was operating on a completely different level. Like Steph Curry said, Wemby wasn't giving great player vibes. It felt more like cheating.
Yeah, he's like the 2K creative player. Like every point guard that wants to be 7 foot, cheat code type vibes.
By the end of the night, the conversation had already started to change. The discussion was no longer about whether Victor Wembanyama deserved to be the number 1 pick. The debate was effectively over. But there was still game 2 to play, and unknown to everyone, Victor Wembanyama was about to make NBA players fear him.
Henderson / Las Vegas home. Wembanyama for 3! Devontae Jones trying to push the pace, hands off Wembanyama. Oh my goodness! With the blow by, Wembanyama! Great wingspan. Rising up, rattles in another 3.
By the time the second game tipped off, Victor Wembanyama had already gained everyone's attention. Scouts were talking, executives were talking, media outlets were publishing reactions. The first game had confirmed that the hype was real. But in the second game, Wemby played like he was sending a message to those in the NBA. You see, what made this performance different wasn't the box score, even though the box score was absurd. It wasn't the 36 points, the 11 rebounds, or the 4 blocks. It was the fear. Fear that this guy might not have any weakness because on that night, he was doing everything, everywhere.
Wembanyama turnaround from the elbows. He said, well, yeah, it was a long time to play. It was also a long time for him on the bench as well. So,
But he's been in the league forever.
hey now! Of G League Ignite, he'll be draft eligible in 2024 as Victor Wembanyama drew.
Ineffective because Wembanyama's physical tools eliminated choices most players are required to make.
Need to fill out. You said, how much did Kevin Durant need to fill out?
Our first recognition of Victor was playing 2-on-2 with you. And you knew about
Missing the 3, and that will be kept in play by Wembanyama. Another.
A 7'4" player wasn't supposed to create offense like this. That wasn't an opinion. It was one of basketball's foundational assumptions. Players that tall were supposed to depend on guards. They were supposed to receive the ball in advantageous positions. They weren't supposed to manufacture their own advantages from the perimeter. Yet possession after possession, Wembanyama kept doing exactly that. And every successful possession forced the people watching to update their understanding of what they were seeing. One moment he was creating offense, the next he was protecting the rim. Then he was running the floor. Then he was contesting another shot. The game started to feel less like a showcase and more like a demonstration of possibilities that weren't supposed to exist together in one player. When LeBron James saw the performance, he gave Wemby a name that stuck with him.
We're labeling like this unicorn thing. Everybody's been a unicorn over the last few years, but he's more like an alien. I've never seen, no one has ever seen anyone as tall as he is, but as fluid and as graceful he is out on the floor. I mean, that's 7'4" or 7'5" or 7'3", whatever the case may be. His ability to put the ball on the floor, shoot step-back jumpers out of the post, step-back threes, catch and shoot threes, block shots. He's, for sure, a generational talent.
This was no longer about talent. Instead, the discussion became centered on a far more uncomfortable possibility. What if he stayed healthy? That was the question hiding underneath every glowing review and every vital highlight. It wasn't difficult to imagine Wembanyama becoming an NBA player. It wasn't difficult to imagine him becoming an all-star. The difficult part was imagining where the ceiling actually ended. The most revealing part of the entire story is that nothing actually changed about Victor Wembanyama in Las Vegas. The person who walked onto the court was the same player who had already been dominating in France. The only thing that changed was who was watching. For years, American basketball had experienced Wembanyama through highlights, scouting reports, and secondhand observations, so that left enough room for doubt. However, Las Vegas removed that uncertainty, and for the first time, the NBA wasn't evaluating another unicorn. This time, the league was expecting something so unfamiliar that it felt extraterrestrial. Take Scoot Henderson, for example. He played so great in that game, he could have been considered a unicorn if he was playing against another unicorn. But today, people hardly remember him because he was unlucky enough to compete against an alien. In that Las Vegas game, people saw a player who could alter shots without leaving his feet. A player who could move like a wing, protect the rim like an elite center, and create offense without relying on teammates. They saw someone who seemed to combine traits that basketball history had always distributed among multiple players. Most importantly, they saw someone who was still years away from his physical and mental peak. And that realization is what transformed excitement into obsession. Suddenly, teams weren't just interested in drafting him, some were ready to even tank just so they could get him. It got to a point that the league chairman, Adam Silver, came out and said, and I quote, "I know that many of our NBA teams are salivating at the notion that potentially through our lottery they can get him. So they should all still compete very hard next season." Everyone wanted him because teams were scared of being an opponent to peak Wemby. but that fear was ignited on October 6, 2022. Victor Wembanyama's 2 games against G League Ignite weren't important because of the statistics, the highlights, or the viral clips that followed. They mattered because they changed the conversation. They marked the moment when Victor Wembanyama stopped being viewed as a fascinating prospect and started being viewed like a future force that the league itself would have to adapt to. Those games, especially the second one, showed everyone just how unusual and alien Wemby was. And for the first time, admiration gave way to something much more powerful: fear. Today, he has made it to his first NBA final at the age of 22. How high do you think his ceiling is if he's able to stay healthy? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. And if you want to hear the opinion of NBA players on Wemby, watch how NBA players really feel about Wemby next.